Alright, so today I'm going to work on a large figure painting of somebody fishing. I'll be painting on a 30 by 30 inch stretched canvas, and I'll be working with my extended limited palette. We got cadmium yellow lemon, cadmium yellow medium, titanium white, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, permanent red medium, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, and dioxazine purple. This is my extended limited palette. Usually I do not squeeze out the cadmium yellow lemon, the permanent red medium, or the dioxazine purple. But today I'm going to just go with all of those colors, primarily because I had them squeezed out anyway from a previous painting. I will be using a photo reference today, and I'll be using my iPad mini for that photo reference. Alright, so I want the figure in this area roughly. I want the head to be about here, the feet are here, there's a shadow that's cast off in this direction, and I'm just looking at the silhouette of the shape. I'm going to try to do this painting fairly quickly. Like when I do these larger paintings outdoors, I try to paint them the same way I would paint you know, my normal plein air paintings. Just paint them quickly and spontaneously. Once I've got the shape masked in, then I start fine-tuning a bit, and I'm using ultramarine here. I started off with burnt sienna, and I do like to have bits of the orange showing through in the final painting, so I do like to use burnt sienna, but then I'll come on top of that with ultramarine blue, and the two combine to make a dark gray or almost a blackish color, and that allows me to define the shapes a little bit. And I still am just focusing on shapes, but now instead of the overall silhouette, I'm focusing on some of the smaller shapes. For example, there's a backpack here, and then there are a few little details like looks like a belt here, and then there's the fishing reel and the base of the fishing pole here. It's hard to even see what's going on in here. Obviously it's like arms and a hand holding the rod. I'm gonna wait to put the fishing pole in until the end. There appears to be a shadow shape, or I don't know if it's shadow or if it's just a dark area here, but it almost doesn't really matter. I've blown this photo up so much that the image quality is really bad. It's really grainy, which actually I don't mind that at all, because I'm not really looking for detail. Having a grainy photograph is sort of beneficial actually, because again, it prevents me from focusing on detail. I've been wanting to paint more figures, but as you guys know, I'm primarily a plein air painter. So that sort of creates issues, especially if you want to paint large, mainly because figures are constantly moving. I want to make the head a little bit smaller. That's something that I often do, is make the head too big of the figure. There is an area here, sort of like a burnt sienna halo, that I will be painting over, but I did reduce the size of the head. Overall, I'm liking the outline of the figure. As for the shadow here, I want it to be sort of irregular in shape. I had it going a little bit too high like this, but so I've kind of come down a bit. And again, I just quickly sketched the outline. Now I'm kind of refining the outline. But I've got a thin mixture here of ultramarine blue, a bit of alizarin crimson, and I've thinned with liquid and mineral spirits. I'm keeping the paint sort of transparent. I will come over with thicker paint possibly, but I do like to leave some transparency in the finished product if possible. I want to make sure that the edges of the shadow are not too perfect, because the shadow is cast upon white water, which is moving. All right, so for the sand, I've got a mixture of titanium white, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and a bit of dioxazine purple. Most of the background is light in value, but there's some patches of sand, and they are sort of dark. So I'm gonna scrub those in first, and then the rest of the background is almost kind of a purple color. And there's a bit on this side here too. Maybe a little bit like that. All right, so now I've added some ultramarine and titanium white, some dark areas here that surround the white water. And so I'm gonna block that in. All right, so I wanna have a broken wave right above his head here. And even though I've sketched it in a way where it looks kind of defined, I will be keeping the edges soft. I just want to have a rough idea of where this wave is going to be. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep all the surrounding strokes pretty fluid and pretty loose. So I might have to just set the camera down and paint, because I don't think I can get the energy that I want while holding this camera. So maybe I'll do that. This canvas is pretty rough, so it takes quite a bit of scrubbing to cover. There's some other whitewater areas right through here. I'm gonna try to leave those unpainted. Also, I did decide to put in the fishing pole just to kind of have an idea of where it's gonna go. It's nice working on a canvas this size, because after you get the figure sketched in, you can really get loose and abstract with the rest of the painting. One of the things that appealed to me about painting people fishing is the fact that you'll have this defined drawing surrounded by an abstract pattern, which allows the figure to really stand out. But it also allows you to get some energy into the painting. So even if the figure is somewhat carefully drawn, the rest of the painting will have energy and spontaneity in it. Although I try to keep the figure feeling spontaneous too. There's actually an area of white water coming through here. It's a little bit lighter. Still kind of a purple color, but it is lighter in value. I start off by replicating what I'm seeing more or less, but then I'm not afraid to make changes if the reference is not working out compositionally. Beyond this broken wave, sort of a blue-green color. I think this value is a little bit too dark, but that's okay. I will be lightening it up. It's kind of nice to start with a thin, dark layer, and then I can come on top of it with some lighter paint. At this point, I'm just trying to cover the canvas as quickly as possible. Once I've got the initial scrub in finished, then I can start playing around with thicker paint and becoming more specific with the colors and values. Although I'm trying to estimate the values as accurately as possible at this point, just because the value pattern really is the composition. So I want to make sure that all of the surrounding values, you know, surrounding the figure are going to be light in value so that the figure stands out. And I don't mind when I get the values and colors wrong, because I like having bits of those colors and values in the final painting. It creates variety. All right, so for this broken wave here, got a mixture of titanium white and some of this aqua color here that was already on my palette. I do want to leave bits of the burnt sienna showing through, in particular in the waves. I notice that when I do seascapes, if I paint out all of the sketch, it's not as vibrant. The finished painting is not as vibrant. And I will most likely be adding bits of warmth to these waves here. It's nice to have a bit of warm and cool playing off each other in the areas of water and also in the figure as well. And I've tried to make this wave as irregular as possible. All right, for the sand, I've got a mixture of titanium white, burnt sienna, cadmium yellow medium, and it was looking a bit too green, so I added some alizarin crimson. In the reference photo, his backpack is blue, but being that there's so much blue in the painting, I've decided to make it sort of a reddish color. It's always nice to sneak red into a painting whenever you can. So I think I'm gonna go with that. All right, so there is the block in. It's taken about an hour, I'd say, to get to this point. And now I'm just gonna start adding thicker paint. All right, so to define the figure here, I'm using a number 4 natural bristle filbert. I'm trying to apply strokes with intention and just define, you know, further define this shape without breaking up the overall silhouette. So I want to make sure that I keep this silhouette intact. So I'm using loaded strokes and try to apply the paint and then leave it. I'll give you a close up there. All right, so here's what I finished up with. This painting took just under 3 hours to complete. I will be doing some minor cleanup, but for the most part, this painting is finished. This was a really nice sized canvas for this particular composition. I felt like I had plenty of room to add intentional brush strokes into the figure. Sometimes if you have a smaller canvas or smaller panel you're working on and you're doing a figure, it's very easy to throw the drawing out when you're trying to apply brushwork with intention or have brushwork that's visible. And it can be really frustrating and end up taking a long time. But with this, I felt like I was able to kind of get what I wanted on the first attempt. And that's always the ideal situation. You know, just put down a brushstroke and leave it. And I feel like with this painting, I was able to do that. I didn't have to really do a lot of corrections, except around the head. I think I did some minor corrections, but not much really. So this was a nice size canvas for this subject, and I think that is part of the reason why it went so quickly. And the nice thing about having a painting go quickly is that it hopefully will have a spontaneous feel and not look overworked. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to see some extra videos and help support the channel, there's a Patreon link down below. It's a Patreon support that helps keep me making these videos, and it's much appreciated. So check it out. Other than that, stay creative. I'll see you guys in the next video.